I think you should start solving a perfect cube equation like this. Check this out. We have x cubed is equal to 64. To get rid of the cube, we will have to take the cube root to both sides so that this and that can cancel. Now, we are going to add 1 omega and omega squared right here. This is just like, don't forget to put the plus or minus when you take the square root to both sides, like this, right? When you take the cube root to both sides, make sure you attach the 1 omega and omega squared. So you will end up with 3 different answers. The first one is the cube root of 64, which is 4. And the next one is 4 times omega. And the next one is 4 times omega squared. And these 3 are the answers for this equation. One of them is real, and in fact 2 of them are not real. So what in the world is omega? Let me write this down for you guys. Omega is equal to negative 1 over 2 plus square root of 3 over 2i. It's a complex number. And then for omega squared, you can just do this and then square and then expand it. You will end up with negative 1/2 minus square root of 3 over 2i. So now you can just go ahead and plug in omega and omega squared into this and that, and then multiply the 4, and then you end up with all 3 solutions. And I'm leave that to you. Yeah, so that's it. No, of course this is not it. I will have to explain how did we end up with the omega, right? So let's go ahead and do this on the side real quick. Omega is defined to be, if you raise that to the third power, you will end up with 1. And of course, 1 to the third power is 1. So we're looking for the complex solutions for this. To solve this, the algebra way, we can put the 1 to the other side and then factor this as a difference of 2 cubes. So we will end up with omega minus 1 times omega squared plus omega times 1, which is omega, and then plus 1 squared, which is 1. Omega is equal to 1, it's like just 1. That's not what we want. The complex solution will come from here. So we want omega squared plus omega plus 1 is equal to 0. And let's just use the quadratic formula. Omega equals negative b. b is 1, so we have negative 1 plus or minus square root b squared, which is 1 squared, minus 4ac. A is 1, c is 1, over 2 times a, which is 1. And then this will give us negative 1 plus or minus square root. This is 1 minus 4, so it's minus 3 all over 2. Now, because we have a negative inside of a square root, we end up with a complex number, right? And let me split this for you guys. We have negative 1 over 2 plus or minus. Let me put down square root of 3 over 2 first, and then let me put down the I from the negative inside of the square root right here. So in fact, if you solve for omega from this part, you end up with 2 possibilities. And it just happens to be that the one with the plus gives you omega to the first power, and technically that's just like a definition. If you would like, just take that to be the omega to the first power. And then if you take that as omega, if you square that, you'll end up with this, which is actually the second solution, which is quite neat. Now, how exactly does this work though? Here is the beauty behind the unit circle and the complex number. Let's have a look. On the unit circle, the whole thing is 360 degrees, or we should use radians because we're all adults now. The whole thing is 2 pi, yeah? Here, this is 1. Yeah, we want to end up with 1. The idea is that if you have something cube is equal to 1, you have to think about what's the place that you rotate this 3 times, you end up with 1. So you can just go ahead, divide 2 pi into 3 pieces. So you're looking at the angle 2 pi over 3, which is 120 degrees, 360 degrees divided by 3. 120 degrees is somewhere right here, right? So in fact, this point here is omega to the first power. And then if you take this 120 degrees, rotate these 3 times, you end up with 1. Now, the next one, it's actually down here. This happens to be omega squared. And it's not just it happens to be. You have the x value and also the y value if you look at this as the x and y axis. But technically, this right here is the real axis and this right here is the imaginary axis. But just look at this as the y value, the x value, which is negative 1/2. This right here is the y value, which is positive square root of 3/2. And the negative version, it's actually just down here. Let me just write this down real quick. This is negative 1/2. So it should remind you of the unit circle. Yeah. And if you take omega squared right here, rotate these 3 times, well, this is 240 degrees. Multiply by 3, you get 720 degrees. You will end up with the original place. So these 3, this, and that are the 3 cube root of unity, which is just pretty much all the solutions. By solving this, and you can end up with all these 3. So now you know what to do next time.